Hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I am your host for the next hour on Unlocking Your Truth. We are broadcasting live on 101.7 FM from CIVL. You can catch us on the radio and also live streamers from civl.ca. We're here every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 o'clock. The show is a talk show. We love it when you call in and talk to us about the day's topic. And I will tell you the phone number a few times. The phone number to call in is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. Every week we talk about something in the spiritual realm, be it to do with psychic abilities, something mystical or paranormal or supernatural, or anything to do with anything in the intuitive arts. That's what we love to talk about on this show. Every week we have a topic, and we usually chat about it in the first 20 minutes or so of the show. And then the second half of the show, the last 40 minutes, is for you to phone us up. And you can either phone us up and talk to us about the topic we've been discussing, or you can phone up with a question. So I'm a professional intuitive, and I am delighted to be able to answer any of your questions live on air. Today's topic is something I've never talked about on the show before, and usually I like to talk about something that I feel like a bit of an expert on. But today's topic is something just a little bit different, and so I've invited Corey to sit in the studio with me because we're just going to have a discussion about this topic.
Hello, everybody.
And I'll tell you why I chose it. A few years ago, I wrote a children's book. It's a novel. It's a spiritual novel. And I was recently working on creating some course materials for teachers and parents to teach meditation to their kids using that book. And I got to the point of, how do I market this course? And I came across something I've heard of before and had an idea about it, but never really considered, well, what do I believe about this? And so there are these special labels for children being born in the last 50 years or so. And the labels are indigo children, crystal children, and rainbow children. And so that's what today's topic is all about: indigo, crystal, and rainbow children. And I've downloaded some material from Doreen Virtue's website. So I'm going to read out her descriptions of what these are. And then Corey and I will weigh in with our opinion on that. And you are welcome to call us up with your opinion. And the number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And you can also email info@drlesleyphillips.com. And the reason I say this topic is a bit outside my realm is I don't 100% like putting labels on people and saying that certain groups of people are more special than others. That's my own personal little bugbear. But anyway, here's the description on Doreen Virtue's website of indigo children and what they are. So she says that they actually can be any age, but most of them were born in the 1970s. And they are highly sensitive and psychic and have important life purposes. They are like the crystal children because they are psychic, but the difference between the crystal children and the indigo children is their temperament. So the indigo children are more fiery than the crystal children. So the indigos have a warrior spirit, And their collective purpose is to mash down old systems that no longer serve us. So they're here to quash governments and educational and legal systems that lack integrity. And so to accomplish this, they need this warrior spirit, this fiery determination. And it also says that people who resist change and value conformity misunderstand indigos, and that indigos are often mislabeled with the psychiatric diagnosis of attention deficit disorder with hyperactivity, ADHD or ADD. And so often they get medicated. And the other thing it says about them is that they can easily tell when they're being lied to, which is something that's really important when you're here in the world to break down old systems. So in reading that, my first reaction to it is, well, it is true that we are in a period of time on the planet at the moment where the old systems are breaking down. It is part of what's going on the planet with the frequency rising up. It's difficult for those old subversive systems to survive. Because it's like a light being turned on really brightly, and things that remained hidden in the past can't be hidden anymore. And so I can definitely buy into there being a generation of people on the planet that are here with a life purpose to facilitate that transformation and change in our planetary systems. How about you, Corey?
Oh, I love talking about the Indigo children, and I don't find it as much a label as just a way to allow people to understand that their gifts are there. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was one of those children. My mother used to call me, "You're a special child." She used to say it to me all the time when I was doing things I shouldn't be doing. But anyway, I don't know. I find these kids. I've met a couple of the what you could call indigo or crystal children in the past, and they're just astounding. But as you know, Dr. Lesley, I love kids, and they're all special to me. But every once in a while, I'll see one, and you can. It's almost like I can tell that there's something about them that is different. Special is a good word, but I think different is another word as well. They don't walk the same path that a lot of the kids do. There's an aura of knowing. There's an aura of understanding. I think understanding is one. I met a child. I don't know if I want to go into it right now, but I met a child well, you met him as well. A young boy, 16 years old, at the Body Mind Spirit Expo this year. And he was hard to understand as far as his verbiage was concerned, because he would say interesting things, but he would come up and say, "Can you tell me a question?" And at first it took me aback a little bit, but then I opened up to him, and he actually had so much love and wisdom in him. And I mean, he just made everybody at this expo just his friend immediately. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful thing. Do you remember him? I do remember him.
And I'm going to read out in a minute the definition of Doreen Virtue's definition of a crystal child. And I actually think that chap fits this other definition a bit more closely. But before I do that, one of the things that she says is that indigo children have a lot of indigo blue in their auras. And this is the color of the third eye chakra. And now I'm trying to sort of give my input on that, because I've been a practicing clairvoyant for over 20 years, and I see people's auras and I read them all the time. And one thing that I know for absolute sure is that the color of everybody's aura is changing all the time. The color of all the chakras are changing all the time. Now, people use certain vibrations to, for different reasons and when they're going through different things. So, for example, indigo blue often is a colour that people will run through their system when they're wanting to access their deep knowing. But this classification of, well, somebody's got an indigo blue aura means they're an indigo child. I'm not so sure about that, but it may be, if we just take it that there's a certain frequency and knowingness that they're tuning into, then, I can kind of go along with that. So the crystal children, and I think this chap that you met at the Body Soul Spirit Expo might be more like this. So this is what she says, and I'll try and paraphrase because it's quite a lot of information that she wrote about them. But the first thing that people notice about them is their eyes. They're large and penetrating and wise beyond their years. They lock onto you and hypnotize you, and you feel like your soul is being laid bare. They're a special breed of children rapidly populating our planet. Happy, delightful and forgiving, a generation of new light workers, roughly aged between 0 and 7, although presumably, like the indigos, there are some ones that are older than that. And some of the things that, they're being born to the indigo children. So whereas the indigo children are breaking down the systems, the crystal children is the generation coming in to benefit from those old systems having been broken down. So they're entering a safer, more secure world, supposedly, although if you look at some of the things that are going on in the world right now, I'm not so sure about that. But the other defining factor of these crystal children is that they communicate telepathically. Okay, so they don't communicate verbally. They often take a long time to learn to talk verbally. They might not speak until they're 3 or 4 years old. And when they do, what they say might be different, and how they say it might be different, and a lot less too what they're saying verbally, because what they're actually doing is communicating telepathically with people. And that's one thing that I did pick up about that chap that you were using as an example. He didn't communicate in the normal sense that we do, but he said a lot, even though he said very little words.
Oh, definitely, and one of the things that I hear you say quite a bit, that when kids are young and they have special invisible friends, it's not they're not schizophrenic necessarily in essence. They're just maybe seeing spirits, maybe seeing other realms. And that's very, very. I find that very true. But it's the same thing with the special kids. These kids, these children. It's how does a child expand, in essence, when their parents and their surroundings are blocking them on a consistent basis, and some of them are able to break forth anyway, but yet. A lot of them are held back. I had a friend of mine who was a speaker here in Vancouver area, and his son was very special. His son used to meet him on the dream realm, and he used to not just accidentally. His son used to come up and say, "I'll be on the dream realm with you tonight, Daddy," and sure enough, there he would be. And he would just enter his dreams. It was amazing, and it was a very astounding little boy with regards to that. I haven't seen him for a little while, but just wonderful child. Just a wonderful child. But he was recognized. He was recognized by his father as being this special child, and his father helped him and allowed him to. Bring that forth. I mean, how many children, if they went to their fathers and mothers and said, "I'm going to meet you in your dreams tonight," and the mother would go, "Oh yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to that." No, they would be, "Oh yes, dear, I know." After a few times, until mom or dad remembers their dreams and realizes, "Oh wow, he did meet me." And then some may be scared, maybe. I don't know. It's very interesting. I love these kids. I think kids are astounding. I think they're all connected personally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. And the book that I referred to earlier, The Midas Tree, that's one of the reasons that I wrote it, is because I believe everybody has intuitive abilities, and the problem is for everybody really that all children are born spiritually open, with their intuitive abilities open, able to see spirit and know spirit, and then they have to orient to being in the physical world. So that takes a reorientation of your focus. But also, if the culture that they are born into does not support those spiritual abilities, and if the parents don't support it, then pretty soon they learn to turn them down and turn them off, because they're not validated, and they're validated more for other things that they do. And back to the Indigo and Crystal kids, I can see what's happening is a movement, and I think this has happened throughout time, that one generation evolves in a particular way, and that creates a new world for the next generation to come into, and so it goes. And so the lucky crystal children, most of them really, they're choosing to be born to spiritually aware indigos. And if they're choosing to be born to parents that are not spiritually aware, well, part of it is about assisting those unconscious parents to become conscious. And so it's a natural progression, in a way, a natural evolution of human beings to wake up spiritually, more and more, generation after generation. Now, the final group of children that I was going to cover tonight are the ones that are called rainbow children. Oh, but perhaps before I do that, I will just mention that one of the things it says is that the crystal children, because they don't develop speech until 3 or 4 years old, they are often labelled as having a speech disorder or some kind of other developmental delay, just as you were saying, right? So if kids don't fit into what's expected by the medical profession and the educational system, then they get given labels, they get medicated, and once again their intuitive abilities get shut down. So all these medications that they give to the kids that they label as ADHD and ADD and all of that, they don't help. They don't help with these intuitive abilities. They do the opposite. All right, so
if you think about it, a lot these kids, what they do is they hook up with each other in a psychic manner, as you're saying. They're mostly all psychic. And can you imagine what happens when you go to your parent or guardian and say, "I hear a voice in my head," and what that individual think? But even more so, when a child goes up and hears many voices in his head. In other words, many of the children contacting them. It's a network. They all have this net. It's no different than the psychic network. Period. We're able to connect with each other. In essence, it's a network. It's not a net. It's just they are more. It's more apparent in them, and I can't imagine what would that you and I, we communicate without speaking once in a while.
Quite often, actually.
Quite often, yeah, we know what each other are thinking. We take that and accept that. Other people look at that as a wow, how do you do that? But it's normal, and I feel for these children that are held back from experiencing their full range, and I feel sorry for the parents and people around these children that are trying to hold them back because they're not experiencing the growth. There's nothing like a spiritual child, like this young man I was telling you about, to just remember when he came up to us at the end of the event and he kissed Lesley, do me a favor, take care of Corey.
I remember that. And
he came up to me and said, you do me a favor, you take care of Lesley. And like tears came to my eyes. I mean, how could you not feel the empathy, the love, the caring from one of these children. It's incredible.
It is, and that's the other mislabel, is that many of the crystal children are labeled as being autistic because they're not communicating, but actually they're the complete opposite to autistic. I mean, I believe the definition of autism, and give me some leeway here, folks, because it might not be the absolute scientific definition, but it's definitely got something to do with being in your own world and not really having an interest in communicating with other people. Whereas the crystal children are the opposite. They're totally interested in connecting and loving other people. They just don't do it through verbal communication. Anyway, the last group of kids that I got from Doreen Virtue's website, and there's all sorts of other labels on there. We might do them next week, but this is the rainbow children. And she says, rainbow children are the embodiment of our divinity and the example of our potential. They have never lived on this planet before, and they're going straight to the crystal children as their mothers and their fathers. So they're fearless of everybody. They're little avatars. They're all about service, and they are the children that are only here to give. They are already at their spiritual peak. So a few comments I have about that, and maybe I'm picking it apart too much here, folks, but we're all the embodiment of divinity. I guess the difference is that a lot of us don't realize we are, and a lot of us are not embodying our divinity, in that we're not grounded enough to have consciously woken up within our bodies. But we all are that. So I guess the difference is these kids are doing it, whereas most other people are sleepwalking. They've never lived on this planet before. So that's interesting. Because you know what? It takes a bit of learning how to orient to living on this planet. And so I don't quite know what she means by that, whether she's talking about them being, angelic beings or, beings that have never had bodies before, or whether they're just coming from other worlds where they are more evolved spiritually. And I would tend to think it might be that, because it's quite the feat to create a physical body and inhabit that spiritual body as spirit. It's kind of like being on the leading edge of what's going on in the universe and all creation being on planet Earth at the moment. But anyway, so this is what she's saying. And she's also says, let me see, there are a few adult crystal children that are in their 20s right now, and the rainbow children are being born to them. And then she says this peculiar thing, and I haven't had time to contemplate this, and I probably want to Google it and see the science part of this too. But she says that the rainbow children are coming about because the full spectrum of light that we need to assimilate serotonin in our body has been reduced. In other words, when we go out on a clear day with no smog and we're in the sunshine, we're receiving in our body a rainbow through the sun waves. And that's the way we are created, to need rainbow energy. I'm not too sure about what she's going on about there. Maybe if I went into trance, folks, I could get a spiritual perspective on it. But anyway, that's the other part of what she says about rainbow children. So I guess unless Corrie wants to say anything about rainbow kids, we'll probably go to a break, and then we'll be taking your calls after the break. So if you have information about rainbow children, crystal children, or indigo children, phone us up and tell us about it. Or if you believe that you are one, or if you believe that your child is one, phone us up and talk to us about yourself or your child and your experience of being one of these types of people. We have been talking about indigo, crystal, and rainbow children. So children with psychic and intuitive abilities and the different generations of them and what their purpose en masse is on this planet. So if you have an opinion on that, or you would like to share a story of your own about your own child or about yourself, then call us. Do we have any email questions in the meantime, Corey?
Yes, we do. We always have email questions. There's always people who want to know. And the first one is from Jane. And Jane says, what does my future hold in terms of motherhood and becoming pregnant? That's along the lines of our questioning, but not quite there.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And you know, before, when I knew I was doing this show, I've got a big database of questions, as you know, because I did this experiment where I invited people to ask me a question for free. And so far I've had about 700 people ask me a question for free. And, you know, only about 8 to 10% of them were to do with the family. Most of them were to do with life purpose and relationships. But the question about when am I going to get pregnant was probably the most popular one when it comes to a question about family. Okay, so it's Jane, you say, and she said, what does my futurehood hold in becoming a mum and getting pregnant? Okay, let's take a look. And folks, if you're listening in for the first time, what I'm doing is I'm just going into a light self-induced trance, and I'm going to take a look at Jane's energy and do a little reading about her desire to be a mom. And the other thing I should mention at this point is I won't do future time readings. It's one of my ethical guidelines. And the reason is the future doesn't exist. You create your own future through your desires and your beliefs. And so if I predict your future for you, I am programming you to go in the direction of one particular probability. And I don't want to do that. I want to leave your free will up to you. So we're looking at Jane, and we're looking at her energy in present time to do with becoming a mother. And this is what I'm seeing. So I'm seeing that your energy around this question it's all kind of outside of your body, almost, if you might say, in the sort of higher realms. And so I'm seeing that there are some, I call them baby beings, who you are interacting with in the spiritual realm, who you have an agreement with for them to be your child. And there are definitely 2 of them, and possibly a third, should circumstances allow, to come in. However, I'm seeing that creation is not yet grounded into your body completely. So I'm seeing, if I look around the reproductive system area, well, you know, the body it's a biological organism. It's programmed to, the female body, it's programmed to want children. And obviously I'm seeing that your female body is no exception to that. But if I look in between, above the female reproductive system, which is equivalent to where the second chakra is, and all the way up to where I'm seeing above the crown this bright energy around being a mother, I'm seeing a ton of past time energy, and I'm seeing that it has to do with your relationship with your mother. And it looks like there's a lot of leftover angst from that relationship. And I'm seeing that one of the things you're really wanting to do is present time your relationship with your own mother and work through some of the issues that came up between you 2 souls ahead of time, ahead of creating your own family. Because it looks like you chose that mother to learn some specific lessons, and it's kind of like you want to learn them, consciously, before being a mother yourself. So part of it is, yes, not wanting to repeat the what you might label as mistakes that your mother made. I mean, as all mothers, it looks like she did the best that she could, but she wasn't perfect, and so it just looks like you're wanting to process some of that. And as you process that and release and let go of that space that's being occupied by these issues that you had with your own mom, it sort of frees up, and this energy about creating a family can pour in and take up that space, if that makes sense to you, Jane. So I'm seeing, without predicting the future for you, it looks very bright. You do have some spiritual agreements with some other beings for them to come and be your children, and it looks like on a spiritual level your plan is to do a little bit more inner work on yourself before you bring that into being. So, on to the next question, if we have another one.
Yes, we do. And this question is from Queso. And Queso asks, I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks about finding my gift and discovering my true passion, all in the hopes of redirecting my path towards something that would, number one, motivate me to get up in the morning, 2, make this world a better place for my friends, family, and whomever I can reach and help, 3, enable to pay my bills and hopefully save for retirement as well. So my question would be, what is my gift?
Okay, great question. Great question. And I suspect an indigo child waiting to wake up in this person. So let's take a look. And once again, I am going into this very light self-induced trance. And give me a moment to do that. So ultimately the question is, what is my gift? But she or he also said, want to be motivated to get up, wants to make the world a better place, and wants to be able to pay the bills. Okay, so I'm taking a look. Oh, it's very interesting when I look at your energy. Did you say Cato or Queso?
Queso.
Queso.
C-A-S-O.
Okay. Queso. When I look at your energy, it looks like you've stepped outside of yourself. So there's you, who you think you are and where you find yourself right now, which is in this lost place. And sort of almost right next to you is this bright being of light that knows exactly why it's here. And is feeling very confident and raring to go. So it's almost all I need to do is merge the two of you together, and off you go. So let's look about what's creating this separation between you and knowing who you are and being who you are. Well, I think that's exactly it. It's like, it looks like you're getting yourself really quite stressed out, trying to search for the answer to this question. And you're searching for the answer to this question intellectually, to some degree. And also through the veil of other people's ideas and opinions and what your life has been like so far. And so it's almost like you're limiting who you can see yourself being by other people's concepts and by how your past has been so far. And I'm seeing, it's this corny phrase that people say, but if you let go and let God, if you get out of your own way, if you, it's like relax and put your worries aside. If you put your worries aside, your energy can flow through you more easily. And then, to answer your question, what is my gift? Let me just take a look at that. One of the things that I'm picking up on, that you have a really big heart, a really big, open, loving heart. And that's partly where this desire to give and help humanity is coming from. But I'm also seeing that you're a healer. So, and that's obvious from your question. You're wanting to make the world a better place. So you're wanting to in some way find a way that you can assist healing and transformation in this world. And a healer can take many forms. I always say the best healers are comedians, because they make you laugh, and when you laugh you have no worries. You can be terminally ill, but if you're laughing you have no consciousness around being ill. Comedians are great healers. So a healer doesn't have to look like a doctor or an energy healer. And I'm seeing in your case, what's coming forward is a past life, which it looks like you're wanting to draw from what you learned in that past life in this life. And it was a past life in Thailand as a temple dancer. And I'm seeing that you were very beautiful. You were exquisitely adorned in these beautiful garments that the temple dancers wore, and those really tall hats that they wear as well. And I'm seeing that the dances that you did, you were so full of joy and very light-hearted, and the dance did a few things for you. One of it was your body loved you and you loved your body, because so that spirit and body were very well integrated in that lifetime and balanced and in alignment. And through the dance you told stories. You delivered spiritual teachings through the dances. You told ancient stories through the dances. And so you entertained people and you taught people and you raised the vibration and in that way. And I'm seeing it looks like this lifetime something similar. And so what exactly does that look like? Well, that's really up to you. But and I'm not reading you when I say this, I'm just plucking some examples out of the air. But I mean, yes, you could be some kind of performer that dances. You could be a yoga teacher. You could be some kind of a storyteller of some kind. But that energy from that past life, that thrust, and that passion is definitely wanting to flow through you in the current physical body. Hello everybody, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. I'm Dr. Lesley Phillips. We have 15 minutes left in tonight's show. It's been all about crystal children, rainbow children and indigo children. Corey, do we have another question?
Yes, we do, Dr. Lesley. And this is from Lisa. And Lisa writes, I am concerned about my oldest daughter. My question is my gut feeling right?
Let me take a look at this lady and her daughter. Well, I'm going to tie this question in a little bit to tonight's theme. Do you remember we were talking about the indigo children and how they are warriors and how you can't pull the wool over their eyes. They can tell when somebody is lying to them. So I would say that you, what was the lady's name again? Lisa, I feel like you'll probably fit into this category, because I'm seeing that you are really good at telling the truth from a lie. And so it's like, yeah, trust your instincts, because your instincts are dead on. It's like you don't want to believe it, but at the same time, you know what's true, you can see what's true, and you can see what's right. So I would just say yes. Your instincts are right. Let's leave it at that. So we can have another one. That was a quick one.
That was quick.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
I was just taking a nap there, and I thought, hey, I get a couple of Z's in here. Okay, and I have a question from... Where's her name? Rosie. And Rosie asks, my question is that my husband and I are trying to have children. Another children-themed question. Will we be successful?
Another future time question as well.
Well, there's there's things that you got to be doing in order to have kids, right?
That's right. That's why it's called family planning, I guess.
Any time, and my parents told me one time, any time that you make love to a woman, you're planning family. So.
What effect did that have on you?
Oh, not much.
He doesn't want to go into that, I think,
no.
Listeners. All right, so let's take a look at this other couple trying to have a baby and see if we get any different answer. Well, I do, because I almost feel like you ask the question today and tomorrow you'll do a pregnancy test and find out that you already are. It looks to me as though the future is now. It's already happened. So, sometimes it takes people a little while to realise that they're pregnant, but I definitely see you... you've got this rosy pink glow all around you. You're running your female creative energy. All pregnant ladies have a special type of energy that they run. I call it female creative energy, and yours is really switched on. So I think the answer to that question is another quick one, Corey. You already are.
That'll be $5.95 for the test, please. I have a question from Karen, and Karen would like to know, if this is a quick one, I'll eat my hat.
He doesn't have a hat, listeners, so he's off the hook there.
How do I get my soul energy and physical body reunited?
What do you think I'm going to say to that one, Corey?
Ground.
Exactly
Ground.
Right. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say get grounded. But let me look at you particularly. I'm really bad at remembering names this evening, Corey.
Her name was Karen.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I'm usually really good at that, but tonight they're going straight out of my head. Okay, so Karen, how does she get her soul energy and her physical body reunited? Well, the answer is grounding. Absolutely it is. You are spirit, and you have a physical body. Your physical body is your vehicle. It's a vehicle that you've created to have some experiences here on planet Earth. And the way to connect that super high vibration, as you call it, soul energy, with that super, low vibration physical matter unit of a body, you need to ground. And the theory is the same as in electrical grounding. All your electrical appliances in your house, everyone, have a grounding wire. And that grounding wire helps to arc off any excess electricity so you don't get a shock. Creating a grounding cord makes it safe for that high vibration energy to flow through your physical body. How do you ground? The way that you ground is you create a flow of energy from near the base of your spine all the way to the center of the earth, and you can visualize this like a laser beam or a waterfall or something like that. And I don't think I've done a full show on grounding, so I might do that in the next few weeks, and we'll just do some meditations on grounding so everybody gets it. But that's one of the first things you need to do is get grounded. The other thing that I'm seeing that you are doing, because it's like you've got into this sort of desperate state of, well, I haven't got my soul energy connected with me, and I want to know how to do that, and it's almost like a cry for help. And I'm seeing your way of crying for help it's almost like to just open your energy up to the universe and go, universe, help me, anyone, any place, anywhere, come and help me, because I don't have the answer myself. So number one, you do have the answer yourself, and number two, it just gets more confusing when you open your energy up like that, because if the whole universe pours in, then guess what? You're experiencing the whole universe and everybody else's energy and information at the same time as your own, and it will be so difficult to get your own information when that happens. And so if you know about chakras, these are energy vortices, and they're located in different places in your energy field, but you have one on the top of your head. It's called your crown chakra. And I'm seeing that you are, in your attempt to get this knowledge and information of how to do this, you're opening it really wide, and you're opening it so wide that you're vulnerable, and it's making you more confused. And so I would recommend ground, number one, and number two, I would recommend visualizing that you're having that crown chakra. You can visualize it like a fan if you like, and just, like those fans that the old Victorian ladies waft themselves with, and just close it down so it's about 10% of the full fan, as opposed to fully open, which seems to be what you're doing right now. Or you can also visualize it as a cylinder, but the idea is you just want it 10%, because that's enough to channel God and to channel yourself. That's enough to get your own information and your own knowledge about what you need to do. But start with grounding and start with that, and I think that will make a big difference to you. I think we've got time for just one more. Are you eating your hat, by the way?
No. That was a long answer, well, comparatively. I have a question from Norman. Or is it a question? It's a 2-word question. I thought, just for that hat comment, here's what Norman writes. Financial problems.
I think he wants some insight into his financial aspects of his life.
You sure he doesn't want financial problems?
Well, you know what? That brings me to another thing I hear myself commonly saying on this show. This is what we create our own reality, right? Through our thoughts and our beliefs. So, if you believe that you have financial problems, if you're constantly wandering around going, I've got financial problems, you're setting the vibration of financial problems in your field, and guess what? The highly benevolent universe always gives people what they say they want, and the way that they tell it what they want is through their vibrational frequency. It will deliver financial problems. And so be careful, because in saying over and over again that you've got financial problems, guess what? You'll probably create more. So in saying that, let me take a look. Norman, I remembered your name. Well, that's good. Let's take a look at what you're talking about. Well, it's interesting. I hope I've got enough time to give you a good answer, because we've just got about 3 minutes or so left. But yeah, it does look like you're having some problems there, and it's not just financial. It's sort of within yourself, and It's interesting. I'll try and say it in a short way, but we were talking at the beginning of the show about indigo children and how they are breaking down the old systems on the planet that don't work. And the financial system is one of them. That's why we've been having such trouble with it in recent years. And I'm seeing that, Norman, part of your reason for being here, you're one of these warrior souls. And of course, anything that we transform on the planet, you know what? First of all, we transform it within ourselves. You can't do anything, unless you do it within yourself. And so it's almost like you're having your own internal financial crisis, which is a microcosmic, microcosmic version of the macrocosmic version that's going on the planet. And so I'm just seeing, it's like, when I looked at you, your whole past life timeline lit up. And it's almost like this is a point you've been bringing yourself to for a long time. And it looks like you've had experiences of what works and what doesn't work in many lifetimes from the perspective of having, and let's not even call it a financial system, because there's been many times on this planet where there wasn't what we call a financial system. And so it looks like you fundamentally have ethical and moral and all sorts of issues around the financial system, how it's done today. And so the current way that it's done isn't working for you. It doesn't work for you. And you don't believe that the system itself works. And so it's like this is a really big deal for you.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.